Nice. Oh yeah, it did do well. It's good. Good. Anyways, so I was just looking at YouTube. I mean, no one's in here yet. I don't think. We'll see. But yeah, we're here.
We made it.
We did make
We're
it.
here
It's
late.
so late.
9 p.m. start, so they can have no games tomorrow.
Not a fan. I mean, I like the fact that there's no game tomorrow. Good for them, but the 9 p.m. start is brutal.
There's no reason why they can't just start this at 8 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what they're trying to do, staggering the games, etc. But just put them at the same time. You have a ton of games at the same time every night, anyways. Just put them at the same time. Like,
yeah, it doesn't make any. It makes no difference. It's not different. No. There's going to be foul calls. Some games are going to move faster than others. It's not like March Madness where it's an all-day thing. People take days off of work, and you're trying to maximize your viewership. You're inconveniencing the good people. They're trying to go to bed.
Just get the games in.
We don't even have the like Miami, Portland playing here, and that's late. There are games that are solely on the East Coast that are like it's time.
Miami, Portland is 8:30, so they got it a little bit better. New York, Minnesota. There aren't a ton of East Coast games that are like late. Like the latest fully East Coast game is Chicago. Toronto, Chicago is 8:45. That's brutal. That makes no sense. Everything past that is like Memphis, and then it's Minnesota, San Antonio, Dallas, Golden State, Utah, LA. In terms of like home,
the Dallas one is sneaky brutal.
Yeah, Dallas.
Usually,
if the
Celtics play in Dallas, it's an 8 p.m. tip here.
Yeah.
So that's an extra hour 45. They're pushing game time back. It's 8:45 in Dallas when that tips off. That's bad.
Yeah, that's not good. What is it? It's 8 in Memphis, I guess, when it tips off for them, right?
I think Memphis might be our time zone. Not positive.
What time is it in Memphis? Hello, Evan. 7:32 right now. They're an hour behind.
They are an hour behind. Well, good for them. They're not massively inconvenienced.
Yeah, not too bad.
They must be right on the line.
The border, USA time zones.
Yeah, now I'm really I'm curious because I don't know.
Memphis, Tennessee is split. Half of Tennessee is one time zone, half is the other. So there you go.
I know. This is what we're complaining about right now is the 9 p.m. tip. It's the worst.
Yeah, not great. Don't love it. But I think this might be the Celtics' biggest test of the season. I think both those Cavs game counted, but I think this is another like pretty big game because the Grizzlies are good. Yeah, they're injured. They're banged up. Steven Adams isn't playing, which is a blessing for the Celtics, who can't rebound as it is. And Steven Adams just put up 19 boards against the Hornets. Jaren Jackson's not playing. Dylan Brooks isn't playing, but this team is good regardless. They're 6-3. They're beating good teams. They're playing good basketball. John Morant's amazing. Just because they're injured doesn't mean they're not a top team in the league because they still are. So this should be a good test for the Celtics. Should they win, I think it'll be a good game. Obviously, you'll back the Celtics against almost every team in the league. So I think they can win. So if they can win, they should win, in the words of Sam. But it's going to be a good game. I'll put it that way. I'll put this on par with both the Cavs games in terms of how good it could be.
I sure would like it not to be close and to be able to relax.
I would enjoy that too. But
we had our first Sam Takes Insurance game of the year on Saturday, where the Celtics were not able to really separate themselves enough for me to get real value, but I ended up getting plus 475, so it wasn't bad. Didn't matter. Good, thankfully. Tonight, I would love to be able to place the insurance, but the problem this year is they just haven't been able to distance themselves for a long enough period of time for it to be worth it. I got greedy in the second Cavs game. I was going to do it, and I was like, oh, I want more than like 250 or whatever it was. And it never got higher. I literally opened the app at the pinnacle of the odds, and I didn't take it.
Evan saying the Celtics are constantly inconsistent. I don't think it's as bad this year as it has been in years past. Maybe I'm crazy. Yes, they're not like They have had chances. They've had plenty of chances to like put their foot down and step on their opponent's necks, and they haven't done that. But I think a big part of that is their defense isn't what it was last year, and that's not completely in their control because Rob is out. And I still think they're trying to figure out exactly how they want to play defense with this group. It's been what 9 games now. It still looks like they're trying different things. Like I've said this to Sam a bunch of times. They're like playing pick and roll coverage different every possession. Like they can't figure out what they want to do, and it's going to be even harder tonight with Ja with the ball in his hand. So I think that's a big part of it. I think the offense has been phenomenal. I think they've shown that they can get inside. They can hit threes, obviously a franchise record against the Knicks. So I think that's really been the backbone of how they're playing. And whether or not you like it, that's just how it is because the defense, it's not consistent right now because they don't have that consistency from last year like they have with the offense. The offense can be consistent because they have a lot of the same pieces. They have shooters. They have better offensive pieces in place this year. The defense is taking a step back though because they don't have as good defensive pieces in place simply because Rob isn't there. Not saying they shouldn't be a better defense than they are because they absolutely have the talent to be and they should be, but with no Rob, they're forced to play small, and since they're forced to play small, they're forced to. I don't want to use the word experiment, but try different things that they weren't doing last year when they did have Rob.
It is funny. Usually, the offense is the inconsistent thing. Defense
Mhm.
is usually you just kind of control what you do and how much effort you
It's a
put
weird
forth, and it's
switch.
pretty solid. But this season, they haven't been able to be as flexible with what they do. They haven't been able to be as successful um, with what they're doing on the defensive end and consistency. And like you said, the pick and roll coverage has just been brutal. They're giving up free looks, free mid-range
Mhm.
shots, free threes, drop coverage sometimes. Sometimes they hedge and get beat. There is no reliability. And the strangest thing is the threes have been the answer, unfortunately, from my point of view. I don't know, man. I get scared when they come out and make 5 or 6 threes like they did on Saturday because then I'm like, oh, wow, they think the basket's like the ocean and they're just going to keep chucking them. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it if they play like they did Saturday and they make them, but more importantly, they work to get good looks, which they did Saturday despite not really scoring in the paint. They still were making the extra pass and the ball movement was good, and it was really difficult on the Knicks to try and keep up with what was going on. The problem was they couldn't get any stops, and that's why the game was close. That's why it was like 100 apiece at the beginning of the fourth quarter. It's a trend this year. It
Mhm.
feels like across the league scoring's up. Do you get the same vibe, right? It's kind of crazy.
I think it is. I think it is. Let me Google
Do you think
league
it's
averages.
the officiating? Do you think they are being tougher league wide with some of the ticky
Um,
tack stuff and there's more free throws being shot and more guys are getting into the bonus early, things like that, to where it's tougher on the defense?
I don't know. I don't think necessarily. I think they definitely are calling. They're being more harsh on that end, but I also think they're being more harsh, excuse me, on offense. Look at all the travels and all the carries and all that sort of stuff. Like I just think the referees are blowing the whistle a lot more this year. I don't have the stats to back it up, but I do have the stats. This is the highest scoring season since the 60s because in the 60s it was like 118, 118. But of modern era of basketball, this is the highest and second highest was 2 years ago, actually, 2020, 2021. So last year was kind of an outlier in terms of scoring because it went down for the first time in a long time. Um, went down to 110, and this year it's right back up to the 2020-21 season on par, 112.6 points per game this year, which is crazy. A lot of points being scored, and 3-pointers are down this year, in case you're wondering, from take off the green glasses and watching
Not
the
in the
Celtics
games I'm
shoot 50,
watching.
but I was gonna say, yeah, but less teams are shooting less threes this year than they were last year. But Celtics took down the Knicks in the last one, took down the Bulls in the one prior. Now they've got John Morant and the Grizzlies. But a somewhat weird Grizzlies lineup we're gonna see tonight because there's no Steven Adams, there's no Jaren Jackson, there's no Dylan Brooks. Desmond Bain has been their second best player, much to the chagrin of a lot of Celtics fans.
They love it. They're like, oh, they should have kept him because if he was on the Celtics, he would have had the exact same opportunity, and he
I
would have
don't
got
think he
tons
would
of
have,
run,
but
and he would have
that's the one.
just been a stud.
That's the one example I tend to more agree with that crowd in, though, because with like Max Strus, that would have been an end of the bench guy. Drafting Baines, he would have gotten some run. Like he could have been a Grant Williams. He might not have. I mean, he's averaging 24 points. He wasn't going to do that. But I could have seen him easily blossoming into like a 12 to 15 point per game scorer in Boston next to the Jays, which would have been very useful. Um, and it stings, especially when you consider the reason they gave up that pick and traded him away. Because do you remember?
Yeah, they wanted to dump Cantor's contract.
Yep, they dumped Cantor and Poirier. So they traded Desmond Bain because of it, just to sign Cantor a year later. So love that from the Celtics. Ideal, but regardless, like Sam said, he probably wouldn't have gotten the same run. I think I'm wrong. Also, I think Dylan Brooks is playing. It says he's been getting some run. Let me check their injury report. Injuries for the Grizzlies: Steven Adams is out. Jaren Jackson is out. Zaire Williams, Danny Green are both out. Jake LaRavia, their rookie, questionable for Monday. He's been getting some decent run for them. So Dylan Brooks will be in. He will be playing, but their scoring leaders have been Ja Morant at 28, Desmond Bain at almost 25 points. He's shooting threes at 47% on 9 attempts a game. So he's going to be electric. He's going to annoy a lot of fans tonight. Outside of that, Tyus Jones, Dylan Brooks have been playing well. Brandon Clark, our good friend Timmy G's favorite player in the league because he likes him more than Grant Williams. Santi Altima, another guy you should watch out for. He's been starting a lot for them, playing good basketball. But yeah, they've got a good roster. I have a feeling there's going to be some players that fans might not recognize because the Grizzlies, in the same way as the Heat, they've got a lot of younger guys who just give them good minutes that they put out there and they trust and have been playing better than a lot of people probably anticipated. So it should be a fun game. Obviously, Sam doesn't want it to be a fun game, but it should be a pretty good one at the very least.
I am trying to log in to my sportsbook app for later in the show, and my iPad in the process has died. The app has told me it's not possible to log in at this time. Mind you, I'm doing this all upside down because I have to plug it in because it died, and my plug is that way, and it's not long enough to turn around. First world problems, I guess, right? But here we are. I'm finally in. So we'll get to looking. We'll get to look and see what we're going to give you for free picks. As far as Memphis and their depth goes, I can give you absolutely nothing. I don't know any of those guys Jack was talking about.
All right. Well, fair enough. We talked about this in the podcast. Celtics 2 games in a row against the Bulls and against the Knicks. Played brands of basketball that Sam likes and brand of basketball that I like. Bulls game didn't take a lot of threes. A season low in threes, 31. Got into the paint and they had a lot of success. But then the very next game they shot season high 51 threes, I think it was, and they made a franchise record of them. And they played well that way too. I think it's good that they can play both ways. I think it's also a matter of finding a balance, but if they get a good three, I'm going to keep saying it. They take the good three. I'll stand by that.
Yeah, they got a ton of good threes on Saturday night. That's part of it. That was the ball movement. That was all these guys making the extra pass. You felt like they were really being patient and waiting for the right shot. That's not when I have a problem with it. The problem I have is when a guy dribbles up, makes one pass, and the shot goes up. That's when it becomes a problem to me because the defense doesn't have to work to stop them, and it leads to quick turnarounds for the other team. They're not having to work on defense again, and then getting multiple chances at the offensive end, and the Celtics are having to play defense in quick succession. It's just begging the other team to go on a run. That's what it feels like to me when they're not buckling down, moving the ball, running the offense, and getting the open looks. Really, we talked about this on the show too. There's not too many guys I really want like just pulling threes, even though everyone on the team is shooting really well because we went through this, except for Sam Hauser. Hauser has got the absolute green light. I have all the faith in the world in Sam Hauser. Every time he shoots it, I think it's going in. And he had a career high Saturday night, 17 points in MSG against the Knicks. And he was a huge spark in the first half. He was making everything. It started with an open look. Then he started even taking some contested ones, drilling them. Easy work for him. Even made a layup. How about that? A drive of the closeout. Drove, finished with the left hand. In traffic a little bit. Randall was down there waiting for him.
Yeah, he's looked real good. Season high Career high, actually, 17 points for Hauser, 5 of 8 from 3-point range. He's been electric to watch. We talked about how he probably could even do with some more minutes in the Celtics rotation. I think that's true. I think that's good, especially with how good of defense he's played this year. He's impressed me. Him and Grant Williams are kind of like the 1-2 punch. Honestly, I think one of them should probably be on the floor at all times. Is that crazy? Like, I feel like one of those two
This
should
is
always be
very
on the
funny
floor.
to say out loud. Like, not that you're wrong, but usually it's like, oh yeah, I think Jason Taylor, jeez man, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown should be on the floor, at least one of them at all times. The
Yeah,
conversation we're having is, I think either Grant Williams or Sam Hauser should always be out there because they're that
I think they
essential.
should. I
But we
think
went
they
into
should,
it. We
though.
talked about Sam Hauser, and he really should be out there more. What does he have? 11
Mhm.
minutes a game, we were saying. We found
Yeah,
in our
around
research
that.
on the last podcast that he's playing like 11 minutes a game, and he's insanely good. I saw on Twitter today that the Celtics outscore their opponents by like 30 points and per 36 minute stats when he's out there. Like, he's just so good for their offense. He's
Mhm.
pretty much a safety valve like Rob is, but in a different way. Rob, you can just throw it up to him if the offense doesn't go right. You can throw it out to Hauser, and if he has enough space, he'll probably drill it. Everybody on the team that talks about him has enormous amounts of faith in him. They say he's one of the best shooters they've ever seen in an open gym, and that guy's running
Mhm.
up and down the floor with the same jersey on as you, and you can pass to him. So it absolutely helps to have him on the floor as much as you can, and he's not getting cooked defensively. Teams are trying, but it's not happening, which is even better. It's not like they kind of don't know yet, and they're like, hey, this guy kind of looks like he can't defend. Let's try that. They are trying it, and it's not working, or at least at a high rate. He's playing well.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks good on both ends. Marcus Smart talked about his defense after the game against the Knicks, up to 13 minutes now after the Knicks game, but still seems a bit low for how well he's playing. But I guess it's also just a testament to how talented this Celtics team is. They've got a lot of guys who can do a lot of things, um, and it's the best offensive version of the Celtics I think we've seen in a long time, which is why they're so dominant on that side of the floor. And now they've just got to figure out the defense. And once they do that, I think they'll be better off because of it. But I'm trying to find stats for how often the Celtics shoot in certain times of the shot clock, but it's not loading. It's telling me they've taken one shot all season in the 15 to 18-second range, and so something clearly isn't working with NBA stats because that is not physically possible. So that stat's not coming up, but I can tell you how often Celtics players shoot in certain ranges of the shot clock. Um, because I don't know, I haven't been seeing it as much. I feel like they've been doing a better job of working to get better looks this year
No,
than
they
last year
have.
and in years past.
That's why they've won more games than they've lost, is because the majority of the time they are working to get good looks, but it feels like maybe in games, maybe the two Cavs games, like they've rushed a bit. Like, they blew leads. Every time they've blown a lead, it seems like they start rushing, and then that's when it becomes a problem.
Well,
Especially in Chicago, that first loss, that was real bad. It was just 3-point. Let's jack them up. We need something. We need something to stop this run. We need something to stop this run.
yeah.
Okay, let's keep shooting threes. If one goes in, it's going to break the momentum. And they just kept missing. And then it was easy for Chicago to get stops and come down and score. And it just was an avalanche.
Yeah, I think
That's an
it definitely
outlier.
has happened. No, yeah, yeah, it has happened, and it happened a little in those Cavs games as well. Um, and I think a big part of that is once the other team scores, like you said, they feel compelled to just match it. You saw it in
Yeah,
overtime in the
that's
first
what you
Cavs game.
said. Nailed it on the head.
Yeah. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell comes down, opening up overtime. He hits a three, and Jalen immediately goes and chucks one. But I think in the past few games, they've done a better job of settling down. Even in that second Cavs game, yeah, three misses and you're screwed. Even in the second Cavs game, which they lost, I don't think it was as bad. I think they just got outplayed, and I think the defense really hurt them. I thought the offense was still fine. I don't think they had. Well, the offense actually played poorly, but so did the Cavs. I don't think they were taking bad shots. I just think they were a little bit off that night. And the Cavs just got the better end in OT. But I think the first Cavs loss and the Bulls loss, those two were ones where you could look at it and say, okay, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum came off the floor, they rush shots and they got bad looks. And I don't think the rest of the team is too guilty of that. Marcus Smart maybe every once in a while. Same thing with Brogdon. Brogdon was bricking wide open layups in one of those Cavs games, which was brutal. The second one, but I think for the most part, they've done a better job waiting to get the better looks, and you saw that as a prime example against the Knicks and the Bulls, even though they were different looks in terms of 3-pointers versus 2-pointers. But I don't know. I think they've been good. I've seen some people on Twitter and in comment sections, etc., saying Jaylen Brown. I saw like someone grading Celtic seasons this season year, and someone gave Jaylen Brown a D, and I was just like, I don't. I mean, I think he has been off at times, but a D seems very harsh.
Yeah, I don't know about that because I haven't noticed him being really any below average. Like he doesn't seem like he's playing worse to me. I think he's been, for the most part, really good. He's been getting to the basket at a high clip, getting there easy, finishing. Had a good game in New York on Saturday. Sure, he wasn't great in specifically. I think it was the second Cavs loss. He was kind of off. And against Chicago on Friday night, he had been reported to be sick, and then Brogdon
Mhm.
was the second best guy on the team. So I guess you could say he underperformed there too, but he's been fine to me. I was excited about him coming into the season. In the preseason, we talked about it. He's really looking good, confident, getting to the basket. That's the main thing for me. I don't really care if he's down shooting threes. He's doing a great job at creating for himself, I think. Would you agree? Like it seems like he's just able to get through the defense. It doesn't feel like he's turning the ball over at a high clip like he was in the playoffs. And again, getting to the basket, it seems like when he wants to.
Yeah, no, I think giving him a D is a bit harsh. I think there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. I think his 3-point shot has been off. I think he's probably the most guilty of the okay, let's match those and taking quick threes and coming up the floors and chucking those. He's actually taking more shots per game than Jason Tatum this season, which is a bit weird. I mean, granted, it's 19.6 for Tatum and 20 for Jaylen Brown, so it's like you're grasping at straws there, but um he's also got a negative plus minus on the season, which is very odd. But uh, I don't know. I understand I don't want to say concerns, but I understand when people look at it and say, okay, he could be better because I think there is room for improvement. Some of the dribbles get off, and out of anybody on the team, I think he does at least this season get caught up in the dribble a lot more. Like I've noticed it with him more than Tatum, of kind of keeping the ball from moving. Like he'll just hold it for a bit too long. I'll check the stat on that, but that's the really only complaint I have. That and he's shooting, I guess, a little bit underwhelming from 35% below average at this point, I would say, or maybe right on par with average, but league average, I think, is up near 36, 37 now. So I don't know. I think D is definitely harsh, but I definitely also see the like, okay, room for improvement in certain areas. I will check the touches though, see how often, like how much he holds it, etc. So for the Celtics, this year, let me just pull it up. Time of possession. Actually, he doesn't have it, and even his average seconds per touch is not even close. Um, to Tatum, or I mean to like the most on the team. Average seconds per touch is 3 seconds. For Tatum, it's 3.5. So, it's pretty similar. Um, I don't know. I don't get the criticisms. I understand like the wanting him to do better in certain areas, but I think he's been fine. I think there's room for him to hit another gear though, because I think he can be an all NBA player. And right now I think he's right now he's at an all-star level and he has the potential to be at an all NBA level. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
But
it's something we talked about heading into the season expectations, and that I think we both had him as an All NBA guy because
he
there is
should
three
look for it.
teams. At the very least, he should be on the third team, or he should be able to get himself there. Doesn't mean he deserves to
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
there. Um, but Tatum is making a case for the MVP. We talked about it a little bit over the weekend, Jack,
He's up there.
and he's playing against another
Top
guy
five.
that's on the ladder, Ja.
Yeah.
With the skeleton crew, with all the injuries, has also been playing well. Grizzlies have the same record as the Celtics do. It's going to be a good matchup in terms of that. Tonight, you have Marcus, the reigning defensive player of the year, trying to guard the MVP candidate, Ja, most improved player last season, and one of the most exciting guys in the league to watch. So maybe staying up till 11:30 is going to be worth your while here. Who knows? I sure hope
Should be
I'm
a
not
good
upset
game.
when I go to bed because that'll be real annoying.
Should be a very good game. I believe it is on NBC Boston, so it's not an ESPN game, so you can be happy about that too. No nationally televised games tonight outside of the NBA TV ones. So you will get to hear Mike or Sean Grandy on the call.
I think it's
I don't know if
Grandy.
Mike travel, but it's fine with me. I like Grandy.
Grandy's
No complaints on that side.
I have a feeling this game's going to start right at 9.
Yeah. Do you want to get out of here now then?
We can do the picks and then we can, yeah.
Alrighty.
It's late.
Yeah.
So picks
Run
of
it.
the night presented by Smash the Odds at Smash Odds on Twitter. This weekend they were on fire. Got to tell you, Saturday might be rich now. Don't worry about that. But Jason Tatum over 26.5 points in my pick. Jaylen Brown over 2.5 threes. Both of those are plus money, I believe. Jack, do you have any picks?
I gotta look. I never come prepared because I always forget.
Grant's threes, they are not respecting him. It's at a half, but the odds aren't worth betting. So basically, they're saying, please don't bet this. They will still not put up the line for Hauser's threes.
They're scared. That's bogus. Bogus from them. Let me see points. I usually like Grant points. Grant's points is at 7.5. Take that. I think that's always a pretty good bet. I think Grant over 7.5 is good. Other than that, I think Jaylen Brown's at 23.5. I don't hate that either. The over, I should say. And in terms of 3-point makes, Grant Williams, 0.5. Yeah, the odds aren't great.
Yeah, see, it's bad.
I will say, though, Derek White over 1.5 plus 185. I don't hate that either. I'll take D White threes as well. You can put that down.
All right.
There you go.
Well, Jack
or
Jack's
Marcus Smart, but those odds aren't great. Yeah, I'll take Grant points over on Derek White threes. 7.5 for Grant for points and over 1.5 threes for Derek White. Those will be my two. Hopefully, I'll remain on fire. But anything else you want to say before we get out of here early?
Be on the lookout for new episodes of How About Them Celtics this week. I believe we're going to try and get one for Friday, right?
Yeah, we'll get something out.
We got 2 games, and then Thursday we can record. If you haven't listened, we put one out this morning. So go check that out. We talked as we do. You know what? I got to complain about something before we actually, I'll save this for the podcast. You listen Friday, you'll get the complaining.
All right, sounds good. Well, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you for stopping by. Check us both out on Twitter. That's below our faces. If you're watching on Guy Boston Sports, make sure to jump on over to the How About Them Celtics podcast YouTube channel. Throw a subscribe on there. We just put up a new short today as well. New podcast up today. Both those should have another short tomorrow or the next day around then. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at How About Them C's. This has been the Bannertown Build Up. We are here 30 minutes before every Celtics game, and we will see you guys before the next one.